Hello, and welcome to the next part of the course, which is how to choose to evaluate your intervention. So this micro lecture will cover how to describe the 3 evaluation options, to explain the strengths and the limitations of the different research designs, and then to help you to select an appropriate evaluation strategy for your peer tutoring program. Research design. We have a short course for an introduction to research and evidence in education. This explains the key concepts in research design and how to judge the trustworthiness of research findings. So if you're part of the school license, then you can enroll in the course for free, and it will help you develop your understanding on the key concepts around research design. In WhatWorked, we allow teachers to choose which evaluation will work best in the context of your own school. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all. You have 3 options, and the 3 options revolve around our 3-star rating system. So 1-star rated is the teacher observation. The 2-star rated evaluation is the single group pre and post test. And then our 3rd star is the mini randomized control trials. So let's have a look at these in a little bit more detail. So we'll start with the option 1, which is teacher observations. You can see from this that the research design is just an N and an O. So the N is your group of students, and then your O is the observations that you make. In this evaluation approach, the intervention is implemented in your school, and you're able to observe how this works and how the students respond to the peer tutoring. However, as this is a single group design, with no pre or post assessments, you will not be able to assess how well the intervention has improved the attainment of your students. So the pros to this, it requires minimal planning and allows you to see if your students engage with the intervention. So you can look at the implementation issues and just to see how peer tutoring potentially can be implemented within your school. The cons to this is that we have no comparator group or assessment opportunities. So there's limited evidence for the impact of the intervention other than it can be run in your school. So that was the option 1, which is the teacher observations. So let's have a look at option 2, which is a single group pre and post test. You can see from the research design that you have your N, which is your group of students. You then have an O, which is for the pre-test, the observation. You then have an X for the intervention that's being implemented, and then another O, which is for the post-assessment. So in this evaluation approach, the intervention is implemented in your school with a pre-test and a post-test, which is used to measure attainment. However, this is a single group design. This has multiple threats to validity. In other words, there are many other plausible explanations why the student's attainment may increase. So let's just look at one example. Because this is a single group design, all the students complete the same pre-test and the same post-test. So any differences that you may have might not be just because of the intervention. It could be because the students are familiar with the instrumentation that's being used for measuring attainment. So it could be because they're more familiar with the assessment that they get it a second time, they increase their score because they are familiar. That's just one possible plausible explanation. So the pros to this is that they includes a pre and post test, and all students receive the intervention at the same time. The cons are we have no comparator group, so it's really difficult to attribute the increases in attainment to purely the intervention. So let's have a quick look at option 3, which is the mini randomized control trials. So you can see from the research design that we have 2 rows, so we have 2 groups of students. The students are randomly allocated to the intervention group or to the control. In the groups, the students are randomly allocated, then they both complete the pre-assessment. One group receives the intervention while the other does not, and then they both complete the post-assessment. So the advantage for this is that if the students are familiar with the assessment for the pre-assessment, and then they then complete the post-assessment, this would balance out because both groups will be familiar with that, and any increases will be likely to be the intervention rather than the familiarization with the assessment. And the key thing with this is that the students in the control group then receive the intervention after. So all students do receive the intervention. So in this evaluation approach, the intervention is implemented in your school with a pre-test and post-test used to measure attainment. The students are randomly allocated into two groups, the intervention and the control receives the intervention. This is just delayed. So the pros to this is a robust evaluation, including the comparator group. It uses randomization and all the students receive the intervention. The anonymized data can then be added to the evidence base for this intervention. The cons, it requires slightly more time to be able to set up and then to deliver. So we're going to move on to why do we have to choose as a teacher and register in advance. So at the end of this chapter, you're required to select the type of evaluation that you will use. If you are using the first evaluation strategy and teacher observations, then it's not really that important. You can still register for that. But if you are using options 2 and 3 for the pre-test, post-test, and the mini randomized control trials, we do expect you to register that you are completing these with your potential start dates. This is so we have full transparency and we can track how many schools are implementing the intervention. So why do we provide protocols for the stage 2 and the stage 3 evaluations? So we provide you with a protocol which outlines how the intervention is evaluated in advance of the intervention being carried out in your school. This is good practice as it makes the process transparent and prevents data dredging or data fishing. You can also download the protocol and print this for your own school improvement plans or for your own CPD evidence. So the next step as part of the course is for you to decide which type of evaluation you will use and then to register this on the evidence base for us. So that's the end of this micro lecture. We've hopefully gone through describing the 3 evaluation options. We've then explained the strengths and the limitations of different research designs. And then this should hopefully allow you to select an appropriate evaluation strategy for your peer tutoring program in your school.